gamers, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate, where things are going to get really interesting. And the theme of today's episode is it becomes apparently very, very abundantly, is the word I want to use, abundantly clear why this was by far not only Game of the Year, but probably Game of the Decade. I am about 15 hours in, 20 hours in, something like that by this point, and this is such a dense, carefully, delicately crafted game that all the situations that you could possibly think of, at least with my limited D&D experience, are accounted for. They're like, okay, maybe the player will do this, maybe the player will do that, maybe the player wants to do this. And there are so many times when a dialogue option pops up where I've already said what my reply would be as my barbarian, and it's there. Like, the actual reply is there, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going with this. So, getting into this, I wanted to explore more of the map. I decided to leave the spider alone for now. I felt underleveled, or not really ready to fight that. I think I'd stumbled into a big boss, and there was a lot more to see in this very first zone of the game. So, I just started to mooch around the map, and with this, as you know, if you've played this game, and if you've not played this game, you should, the map is so dense that you're like, oh, I'm going to go down this road, and you move maybe 10 yards, it's like, oh, there's a whole event here with a storyline going on and all that kind of stuff, and it's an incredible experience, because you just know that I'm already in the mindset of what I love about RPGs, and what I didn't get from games like Starfield, is I don't care too much about the main story. I've got a worm wriggling in my head that's going to explode. I have played Divinity, which had a similar sort of idea with a curse that was going to kill you, and I was like, okay, that will resolve at some point, probably. I felt stressed in Divinity. It's like, am I on a time limit here? Is this going to explode? Is this going to happen? And ultimately, no, it just kind of plays out in the story, and I'm kind of suspecting that happens here. So I'm just more interested in, like, well, what's next? What's around the next corner? What's going to happen here? And while I was doing that, I got visited by a devil called Raphael. A devil visited me and offered to basically buy my soul for doing things and sell my soul to the devil, which obviously I declined. I was like, I'm not into this right now, but I'm not against the idea for the idea of it being a really fun game and seeing where that goes. What happens if I side with the devil? Is this something that turns into a pure evil playthrough, which is not something I'm going for, and make that happen? So it was kind of interesting. And then the very next room I went into was just a pack of gnolls that you could talk to. Yes, I should probably kill these guys. Like, if I was just like, okay, you bad, kill. But you can convince them and be like, okay, let me mooch around instead of butchering you all, and do that. And sometimes the combat is very intense in this game. I'm playing on Tactician, as you know, and each combat, and I'm glad the combat is spread out. I really am. They've done a good idea of, like, a lot of story and a little bit of exploration, and then combat is like an intense fight that can take, certainly for a novice like me, could take 10-15 minutes to do, and you don't want that all the time, otherwise it's get a bit tiresome. And sometimes when you talk it out, you actually get a better result than if you just fought and killed everything. This time I managed to talk to the gnolls, and I got them to eat other gnolls. I got the leader to, like, I convinced the leader to join my team and start beating them up, which was amazing. It was so good. And then the next corner, I turned up to some paladins of Tyr who were hunting a devil. They were, like, hiding in a cave. And I had a quest with Will to hunt down this evil devil, a devil that's stalking the plains, called Karlach. And then I'm always of the opinion, certainly in these RPGs, I got a lesson from Men in Black. You remember the original Men in Black, like the very first one, where Will Smith is doing his training to become a Men in Black, and the point of the scene is he sees the little girl with the weird books as the enemy, and all the aliens and monsters, even though they're, like, visually aliens and monsters, aren't doing anything. They're chilling. They're doing stuff. And I always since that moment, I've always, like, I'm never judging a book by its cover. So when we got to Karlach, one, hot, like, figuratively and literally burning, but also maybe not bad. Will immediately wants to kill her, but I was like, whoa, let's find out about this. And it turned out, like, yeah, that's a good idea. She become a follower and is way, way cooler than Will. Will's voice actor is incredible. But what a boring character, at least for me in this. I want spicy characters with me, and there's nothing spicier than the literal hot chili than Karlach. So I immediately was like, okay, Will's out, Karlach's in. And then Will gets turned into a devil. I was like, oh, this might make him interesting. Not really, he just cries like a little bitch about it. But he gets some horns. That's pretty badass, dude. So, bench. Will, you're on the bench. I don't know if you're ever coming back. I will catch up with his dialogue whenever I go back to camp sometimes. But other than that, I'm not going to do it. We got some story developments, such as finding a camp that had been attacked and saving a man from a burning house, and there's a duke, so another quest that was going to pick up. Then the game stepped up. I reached a border where a dragon flew over and was burning things, and then these, I'm going to get the names wrong always with a lot of these fantasy games, but the Gith are roaming around, and the game the game tells you through the dialogue of the characters, like, we shouldn't go near them. They're going to absolutely monster us into the floor if we go near them. So obviously I went near them because I'm curious, right? Again, we're sciencing things. Like, well, what happens? Maybe we can do something cool here. Maybe there's a gimmick to it. Walking over, managed to convince them and found out the Gith are chasing the artifact that Shadowheart has. And they really are hunting down this thing. And I got some really lucky dice rolls in order to intimidate them. So I went full Barb Raw in order to stop them doing it, which was pretty cool. And like they were like, okay, we'll leave you alone, sussy, and managed to get past it. But then I hit a border called the Mountain Pass where the game was like, I think it said something like, if you go here now, you will have a bitterly difficult situation to handle. Like, you are underleveled, you are not supposed to be here. And I do appreciate that. It's like, oh, I wonder if this is just a cave. I wonder if this is just a little extra area. And the game's like, no, no, no. This is for later. You found it. That's great. But we're just warning you politely. Like, if you go here, you can go here. That's fine. But if you go there, you're going to get wrecked. So turn back, and still plenty of map to uncover, which was a good idea because I found a thieves area. I'd been told, because I'd saved some people, that there was an underground hidden area in the burnt out town. So going back there, I found this entire underground complex. And this is what, again, makes this game so special, is you could just find a door and you're like, oh, I wonder what's in here. And it's like 5-6 hours of gameplay is down there, and a giant zone full of weird and wonderful stories to behold. So I went down there and it was fine. I couldn't really do much. Got a little reward for helping some people out. But the interesting thing that happened to me down there is there was an artist that had been enslaved by one of the thieves. And I had the option to buy his freedom, to buy a slave. Okay. I'm poor. And I don't like giving my money out to NPCs. And it was 800 gold, which at the time is a hell of a lot of gold for me. But I have to believe it's going to pay off. So I paid for his release. I even gave him an extra 200 gold in order to have a safe passage back to Baldur's Gate. I have to believe, friends. I have to believe that this is going to pay off at some point. And I hope with all my heart it does. I hope it does. So leaving there and traveling down the road, I bump into two brothers who are hassling an old lady. She looks sus. I don't know what it is. She looked like she stank of piss and biscuits. And I'm looking at this old lady and these guys. Their sister's been kidnapped and they're calling her a hag like she's the witch. And I'm like, nah, fuck this lady. Like, don't kill her, but like, yeah, I don't trust you. And she got mad. She got mad. She's like, I was relying on you as this like traveling adventurer to save me, and you just threw it. You threw it right in my face. So what are we gonna do? I just told her to get lost, and I told the guys to get lost and do all that kind of thing, which was not quite the result I was after, but still, she did look sus, so I'm not going to deal with that. And round the corner was an old ruin where I stumbled across a letter explaining that Karga, who is leading the Grove right now, which we're on a mission to find someone called Halsin, who is going to bring some sort of stability to the Grove because there's all sorts of turmoil there. And Kagaru's in charge, is kind of leading up this turmoil. And it turns out she's working for the Shadow Druids. Now, I'm not up to date on my Baldur's Gate lore, but I believe the Shadow Druids are probably bad. Probably bad. So finding this letter, and there was a guy called Wraith, I think, in the Grove who was like, yeah, Kaga is a bit of a douche these days, man. So we need to maybe, like, get rid of her. And I was like, oh, well, we've got the letter, so maybe we don't need to find the other guy. We can go back and do that, which is great. And at this point, I'd also learned to stick more worms into my head, which is great. I'm fully on board with that. I'm going full worms. I'm doing it because it's power upgrades. I mean, I'll do a lot of things in the names of the good and the just, but upgrades, I find it hard to pass out on power upgrades. So I'm going to be sticking all those worms in my brain as much as I can find them. I'm going full worm brain. Interestingly enough, though, the hag from earlier that we saw on the road, we came across a swamp area, and I passed an insight check, which is rare because my character is so stupid that every time we have sort of an intelligence check, she fails every single time. But this time it passed, and I just put on animal talking and spoke to one of the sheeps, and the insight revealed that this is not a sheep. This is actually like a goblin creature, and this whole area is not a pretty sort of luscious garden area. It's actually like a decrepit old swamp, burnt, you know, with black oil running around it, and you shouldn't do anything. But it then gave me they gave me the scenario where I can see that this is not legit, but the goblins, who are disguised as sheep, don't know I can see them, so they continue to wander around barring and shit like that. And then went into the hag, where I went into the house where I find the hag who talks to me and understands what's going on. She gives me a bit of abuse. But she's also got the kidnapped sister there at the table. And I was like, well, we should free her, right? My white knight instincts flew to the forefront. My white knight instincts are there. So she was, interesting enough, my dialogue options, where even where I was abusive to her, didn't lead to combat. And she just started to, like, walk around. I was like, whoa, this ain't right. No. We're killing this lady. We're killing her. I then got into the fight with her, which was one of the harder fights I've done so far, which was cool. But I did manage to kill her in the end, but the woman was gone. Because the hag fled, actually, yeah. So I did manage to win the fight, but the hag flees and runs into an underground cave and takes the sister with her while I finished off the rest of the ads. Okay, and then that led to going into the cave where I fought these crazed devil people. And I'm pointing these points out because a lot of people haven't encountered this stuff or didn't go this road. So traveling through there, I found these humanoids that were crazed because of these masks. I put one on out of curiosity. I was wondering if there was going to be more sentries, more guards. But if I had the mask on, then they would leave me alone. Can I bypass a lot of this stuff? Again, testing things, right? It's an RPG. Like, maybe I should try the mask. No, the mask made me crazy and made me so everybody killed me. That was bad. So, managed to resolve that and take the mask off and go through, and then got into a proper big boss fight with the hag. And this, I would say this was kind of the point where thinking more outside the box than you do in most video games started to shine a bit more, because she has the lady dangling over a chasm in a wooden, like a wooden cage, and she sets it on fire, which gives you a natural time limit to the nature of the fight. And not only that, she divides herself. She does a number of mirror images like Doctor Strange around the room. So after a couple of minutes, I was like, can I just like throw water at this and put the fire out? Yeah, you totally can. I was like, in any other video game, when that's happening, it's a strict time limit on the fight, but not in Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, oh, you could just put the fire out. Yeah, of course you can. Why wouldn't you be able to put the fire out? So I did that, which then let the sister drop to the floor and move away, and kind of take care of her. And then it became apparent that if I had conditions, debuffs on the main target when she did mirror images, the real version still had the debuffs on, but the mirror images don't. So even though she'd split into like 8 pieces or whatever, that's the real one. And there was a really cool moment in this fight where she disguises the sister as her, and she doubles herself. So she's one of them, and the sister's one of them. But the other one had the debuff. I was like, that's got to be the one. And I was making a choice here because there are attacks that are non-lethal, that can't kill things. But I was like, I'm pretty sure it's that one because she still has the Bone Chill debuff on, which I'd used with Karlach. And I was like, I'm going to send it. And I sent all my DPS into it, and boom, worked perfectly. I was like, that's exactly what would happen. This is so good. This is so, so good. I managed to finish out that fight. Plot twist, though. It turns out she wanted The sister wanted the situation. She was selling her baby to the hag because the hag had promised to resurrect her dead husband. I'm not going to feel bad about saving her because she has a baby, but I don't like her for this in any way. And obviously it's made apparent to you as you lead into the cave that the hag always promises things, but it's always with a monkey's paw twist. You know, it's like, I don't want to see these people laughing anymore, so she cuts your eyes out, right? She gives you what you asked for, but it's just not quite how you pictured it. And as I finish up the cave, the woman has her husband in a coffin next to her. So I did the best thing I think I could do, guys, is I resurrected her husband as a zombie. And she went on her merry way with a zombified husband. This is another moment in this game. And again, comparing it to Starfield, and I have to recently because we played Starfield and people didn't get why I was like, this game sucks. It's just not fun. Is because none of these stories have any depth and they don't pay off in a way that's fun and interesting. And it was really bothering me even in the first 14 hours of the game. It's like, some of these stories just aren't paying off well. It's just a really slack reward for doing a lot of busy work. And I have to believe that at some point, this lady and her husband is probably going to reappear in some form or another. Either the zombie's gone mad and eaten all the neighbors, or killed her, or perhaps she's tamed him and it's going to... I'm really looking forward to seeing, and I hope that does pay off. I'm not saying it will because it's a little side story, but I really hope it does. I generally hope it does, and I feel like I did a good thing. I did a good thing. At this point, as I was coming towards the end of my day, I was of the opinion of, like, I should probably do the quest that was given to me, like, at the beginning of the game, which was to go to the Goblin camp. Because I've already encountered things that are much higher level than me, are very, very hard, and I've not done, like, what the game has been like. This is the tutorial area, you should probably go and do this. And off I went to the Goblin camp, where, again, I convinced them to just let me in. Instead of it turning into a massacre, I was like, they were like, oh yeah, cool, you can come in. And I went down into the underground, and I've got a number of things to do. I've got to rescue a poet called Velo, I've got to find the Grand Duke, and I've got to kill the Goblin leaders, or maybe make a deal with them. It's entirely up to me what I want to do in this scenario. And so I went down and got into a conversation with Priestess Gut. Beautiful lady. Where she said she could probably take the thing out of my head. Obviously, I'm fully aware as not a moron that this is not going to work out. But I'm kind of curious because then she said, well, you can only come in on your own. The rest of the people have to stand outside. I'm like, right, okay. But let's see how it goes. Like, it's kind of fun. Me dumb barbarian. Me trust Priestess Gut get worm out of head. Ooh. So I rolled with it to see what would happen. Obviously, she turned against me and ended up imprisoning me, which then led to a really cool moment because I'm imprisoned with her. She's trapped me inside a cage with her where I have a one-on-one fight. But at the same time, I can't control the rest of my party to come to the rescue. Under the guise of, like, this is taking too long, something must be wrong, let's go find out what's going on, and they break in from the other side and have to deal with a rather large ogre-like creature at the same time to meet up and get stuff done, which completely worked out, and I smashed them both up. I got another worms upgrade from my brain, and as I was about to come back into the underground goblin camp, there was another door near us that I discovered, and I went down, and this then led to a temple below the goblin camp. I'm already underground once to go to the goblin area, and there's another underground area leading to a weird temple with puzzles. And that's where I had to stop for the day, finding this area, because I was like, okay, this is going to be like another big thing. And I also don't know whether I'm supposed to go here, because my quests are updating that there's stuff down here. So I found something, I think it's called the Underdark, so I need to go and check it out. So that's where we'll stop for today, is heading into this area. And I still, at this point, like 20 odd hours in, have not done the Goblin Camp. I've done one of the 3 things. I've got the spider to kill. All these little things are mounting up now of, like, things that need to be cleaned up and done and finish out, because the stories are so good. I haven't had a story so far that I was like, oh, okay. None of the stories like that. I still need to go and deal with the lady in the grove. Now I've got the letter. I've got all this stuff to do. And so, yeah, that's where we'll stop for today. But man, what a game, what an experience. And I can't wait to see what's down in the other area. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.